Hi everyone, good morning. Welcome to the today's MPMC online class. I hope you are enjoying the cool weather today.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Please don't sleep.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Today we are going to discuss about registers of your 8051 microcontroller. I'm sure you know that what is meant by a register. So register is a nothing but a combination of flip-flops. So flip-flop or latch, both are 1-bit storage element. If you combine 8 flip-flops, then we are getting 8-bit register. Okay. If you combine more registers and put it together in one place, then it becomes a memory. Okay. So register is a temporary storage element where we can able to store the data. Now if you take your 8085 microprocessor and 8086 microprocessor, we are having limited number of registers, but whereas coming to your 8051 microcontroller, we are having more number of registers, more general purpose registers. Okay, so what is the advantage if you are having more registers? So registers we will store more data. If you are having more registers, we can store more data. Now where the registers are present, inside your memory location or inside your, I mean outside of your processor or inside of your processor? Here outside of your microcontroller or inside of your microcontroller? Inside of your microcontroller. Now getting the data from the inside of your memory location is faster or outside of your memory location is faster? Obviously getting the data from the inside memory location is faster. That's why if we are having more number of registers, we can store more data because the registers are present inside your microprocessor, I mean microcontroller also. Okay, so let's start. So here in 8051 microcontroller, the registers are categorized into general purpose and special purpose. I'm sure you figured out what is the general purpose registers. So if you pay attention for in the 8051 futures class or yesterday's class, we can know that there are total 32 general purpose registers, and that 32 general purpose registers are arranged in the form of banks: bank 0, bank 1, bank 2, and bank 3. So the each and every bank consists of R0 to R7. Now you will get a question. Even you need to ask a question in yesterday itself. That question is, sir, we are having total 32 registers. Why they named from R0 to R7 and why they have made into banks? Why haven't they made the registers from R0 to R31? Why they are named? Because to reduce the number of opcodes. This is the reason they have divided into banks. Take an example. If you take a move instruction, move a comma r not. Okay, can I write move a comma r1? So if you are not dividing the registers into banks, take an example. Now the registers are r0 to r31. If you are not divide them into banks, now move a comma r not, r1 up to, for one instruction you will write 32 different opcodes. Okay, there are move instruction, there are add, subtract, multiply, divide, shift, logical operations, and or xr. So for each and every operation, if you want to use for particular register, you are getting 32 different opcodes. Okay, to reduce the, if you are having more opcodes, there is a problem, right? So that's why to reduce the number of opcodes, we have divided that registers into banks. Now we are having total 32 registers, but the naming, we are with the help of that names, that R0 to R7, we can access the 32 registers. So here we will select particular which bank I need to operate. So based upon the bank selection, I can able to get all the 32 registers. That's simple. Okay, now I understood why we have divided into banks, to reduce the number of opcodes. Okay, for each and every instruction. And that is about the general purpose registers. Now where we are using the general purpose registers? During our programming. So whenever you are programming your 8051 microcontroller, if you want to perform any execution of your any instruction, you will store some temporary data inside your registers. Okay, there we are using your general purpose registers. Now what is mean by special purpose registers? The name itself indicates it is the registers will perform some special functions. Okay, now by looking at this diagram, okay, you can see the left side part. Okay, which we have seen on yesterday's class in last video. Okay, this yesterday, that is the left side part of this diagram, is nothing but your internal RAM structure. So the first 32 bytes occupy general purpose registers, and the next 16 bytes occupy your bit addressable area, and the remaining 80 bytes are occupied by your general purpose RAM. Okay, and today we are going to see on the right side part of this diagram. So this right side part is also one type of a memory location where all the special function registers are stored. Okay, by looking at the diagram, don't feel it difficult, but I will make it make you to understand that topic very much easy. Okay, now we are going to see the special purpose registers. Now if you observe in this diagram, there are special purpose registers. How many registers? Total 21 special purpose registers. Okay, and among the 21 special purpose registers, we can access some of them in bit addressable registers or byte addressable registers. What is mean bit addressable? If you take a register, 8-bit register, we can access the registers of at a time. That means 8 bits at a time. But if you want to modify, if you want to store some particular bit in that particular register, if you want to access a particular bit of a particular register, then we can use the bit addressable registers. Now all the special function registers are not bit addressable, only few of them are bit addressable, which we are going to see what are those bit addressable registers in the upcoming sessions of this class. Now total 21 registers, right? Now why they have given that addresses to these special function registers? Now if you know that internal RAM has 128 bytes. So 128 byte means how many bit address it required? 128, 2 power 7. Okay, so for 2 power 7 we require 7-bit address bus, but there is a catch. So how to calculate the address from the starting location and ending address location of your RAM? So the starting address location is 000. Okay, you already know that. And the ending address location, how many address we require? 7. So that means we'll put the 7 ones there. So by putting the 7 ones, you will get the value 7F. This is how we have calculated the internal RAM, right? So total 7F means this is your 128 locations, where is 2 power 7. But I told you, whenever if there is any bit, which is 6-bit, 7-bit, 12-bit, 13-bit, etc., we cannot operate on those bits. Why? Because we will operate only on byte-oriented format. What is mean byte means 8 bits. So minimum we require 8 bits. Now we require only here 7 bits. So that's why we have added additional 0 on the last of this 7F. Okay, if you can see. And that additional 0 is nothing but another bit where we can able to use as a 8-bit number. Okay. Now if you take if you are using 8-bit number, what is the maximum locations you will get? 2 power 8 means 256. That means we are wasting the remaining addresses, that is from 80 to FF. We are wasting that one, right? Now so we are not wasting that one. These addresses are given to your special function registers. Okay, so 1 000 and 4 zeros, that is your 80, and all ones, 4 ones and 4 ones, that is your double F. So these addresses actually we are wasting in our internal RAM structure, because we are using only 00 to 7F, but we are using 8-bit addresses. Now if we are using 8-bit addresses, we will get maximum value of 256, but here we are using only 128. What about the remaining 128 locations? We are wasting. But to make the use of these remaining addresses, all the special function registers will be assigned with the help with a addresses, special addresses. Okay, now these are nothing but your 21 special purpose registers in architecture, and we have discussed some of these registers, and which I am going to tell you one by one in detail in the upcoming classes. But we have seen some of these registers meanwhile. Now you take the first 3 registers. Okay, the first 3 registers are nothing but your arithmetic operation. During your programming, you will do some arithmetic operations, right? For that, we are using these 3 registers. Okay, the next 3 registers are used for to store the addresses of your memories. So there is a stack memory and there is some external memories, RAM and ROM. In order to access that memory location data, we need to store its addresses. Okay, where we will store these addresses? With the help of these registers. SP is your stack pointer and the DPH, and the remaining are used for the ports. There are 4 ports. For that 4 ports, we are using these registers, and there is a serial port. For serial port, we are using 2 registers, SCON and SBUF, and there is a timers There are two timers. For timers, we are using these registers, and there are interrupts, and for interrupts, we are using two registers. And the last one is your power control. So there are power control features are there for your 8051 microcontroller. For using that one, we are using these registers. Okay. Now we will see one by one. Now first take the first three registers, A, B, and PSW. What is meant by A? A is nothing but your accumulator, which we have already discussed this during your architecture. So why accumulator the name? Because it will store, it can able to store all the previous result values. Okay, that's why the name came it as accumulator. Where we will use the accumulator for every arithmetic operation. By default, the first operand is your A. That is your accumulator. Okay. Next, coming to the B register. What is meant by B register? So B register also used for any arithmetic operations, but there is a special case. Whenever you are performing the multiplication and division operation, you must and should use the B register. That is the the point to be noted here. Only B register we will use only in multiplication and division operation, and also we can use in any arithmetic operations. Okay. The next one is the program status word or processor status word. We can call it as program status word or a processor status word. What it will indicate is, so after the arithmetic operation, you will get the result, right? So that result status will be indicated by your program status word or processor status word. The next three registers are your stack pointer and DPTR. So stack pointer, in yesterday's class we have discussed what is the need of stack pointer. It will point out the topmost memory location. Whenever if you want to do the push operation or pop operation, we need to use the stack pointer to perform those operations. Okay, stack pointer is a 8-bit register. And the next register is the DPTR, data pointer. Whenever if you want to access the data from your external memory, you need to store the addresses of that particular external memory addresses in particular register. The external memory addresses are 16-bit. That's why the DPTR is 16-bit. Now, suppose if you want to store the 8-bit addresses, the DPTR is divided into two parts. One is DPH, that is higher byte, and DPL, it is a lower byte. So which can able to store individual 8-bit addresses, or by combining together, we can store 16-bit addresses. Okay. The next one is your ports. We are having total 4 ports. So 4 ports, and port 0, port 1, port 2, and port 3, right? Now for each and every port, if you want to read the information of the port, in order to write the information of the port, we will use one particular register. That is your port 0 register, port 1 register, port 2 register, port 3 register. When we are discussing the ports, okay, in detail, we are going to see what are these registers are used. Okay. Now the next registers are nothing but your serial port. I'm sure you know there is a serial port in your 8051 microcontroller. So which is having 2 pins. One is transmitter, another one is receiver. Whenever if you want to transmit or receive the data, you need to store the data in one register. That is called S buffer. That is serial port data buffer. Okay. And there is another register called SCON, serial port control. In order to control the entire serial port, we will use this register SCON. Okay. When we are discussing the serial port in detail, we will see what is the individual bit of these registers. And coming to the next register is, next registers are your timer registers. How many timers are there? There are total 2 timers. What are those 2 timers size? 16-bit. Total 2 16-bit timer, independent timers. Okay. Now the timers are divided into 2 different 8-bit timers. So timer 0 is 16-bit. That means we will get 2 8-bit timers in the timer 0 and 2 8-bit timers in your timer 1. Okay. That is nothing but your timer 0 lower byte register, TL0, and there is a timer 1 lower byte, that is your TL1, and a TH0. TH0 is nothing but timer 0 higher byte, and there is a TH1, that is timer 1 and higher byte. Okay, these are the 4 registers for your timers, and timers will be operating in 4 different modes. Okay, mode 0, mode 1, mode 2, and mode 3. To control the timer modes, we will use one register called TMOD, timer or counter mode control. Okay, and there is another register called TCON, timer control. The entire 2 timers will be controlled with the help of this register called timer control register, timer or counter control register. Okay, when we are discussing the timers and counters, we will see the individual bits and each and every part of these registers. Now our main focus is what are the registers are present, what are its main overview of the registers in this class. Okay, not to go in detail about each and every register. Okay, The next one is your interrupt registers. So I'm sure you know that there are interrupts in your 8051 microcontroller. There are internal interrupts and there are external interrupts. Now sometimes you want to enable the interrupts, sometimes you want to disable the interrupts. That means enable or disabling the interrupts. How to do that? With the help of one register, that is called interrupt enable register, IE. Okay, and suppose if there are four interrupts are there, take an example, there are three interrupts are there. Now all the three interrupts are requested your microprocessor. Now tell me which interrupt will service routine, which interrupt will service first by your microcontroller. So that depends upon the priority. That means each and every interrupt has priority. So if you want to service the third interrupt first, you can give the highest priority to the third interrupt and we can able to service that interrupt first. Okay, so how to control the priority? With the help of again one register called interrupt priority. Okay, and the last one is your power control. Why we are using the power control here in future in your microcontroller? If you take your mobile phone, if you take your laptop, okay, you are having the power saving features, ultra saving mode or power saving mode, any power saving mode features in, especially in the battery operated devices. Suppose why we need to use the power control, I mean power saving feature in the battery operated device? Because it is running on the battery, you need to save the power. If you take your desktop, there is no power saving feature in your desktop. Why? Because it is directly connecting the 220 volts. But whereas your laptop and portable devices, mobile phone, these are operated in the battery, on batteries. So that's why we need to save the power. In order to save the power consumption, we will use one power control features in your microcontroller. That power control features will be controlled by your one register called power control, PCON. Okay, now all these are nothing but your total 21 registers. Okay, and these 21 registers are categorized into total 7 groups. So these are your 7 groups which I have given in different colors. Okay, and all these 21 registers are given a addresses. Okay, so on the right side you can see the addresses of your special function register, all these 21. And if you observe in the deep, there is a star written on some of the registers. Few of the registers has star. Okay, what are the star means? Because that whenever if you are representing that a register is a star, then it is nothing but your bit addressable register. That means we can access individual bits of that particular registers. If some of the register don't have the stars, that means we cannot able to access the registers individual bits. Okay, that is the meaning of the star there. So for accessing the individual bits registers, again we require individual addresses. On the rightmost part of this table, you can see that there are different addresses for your different individual bits of your registers. Now you are asking me a question, sir, do I need to remember all these addresses? No way, no need to remember. Okay, even if they are asked, they don't even ask in this examination also. Okay, but when we are programming your microcontrollers, you need to use these addresses. Now how to use these addresses without knowing them? You take the data sheet of your 8051 microcontroller and you can use what are these addresses of the particular register and you can write in your program. Okay, that's how we are doing the programming. As you are practicing the 8051 microcontroller programming, you can able to remember that addresses easily. So but for once we cannot able to by heart these addresses. Even I don't know what are the registers addresses for each and every register. Okay, so that is your special function register. So registers are classified into two categories: general purpose and special purpose. Total 32 general purpose registers and the special function registers are total 21. The 21 is divided into 7 categories which we have seen just now. And some of the special function registers are bit addressable and remaining all are nothing but your byte addressable registers. Okay, and each and every register has some addresses, that addresses which we have seen here in this table. Okay, now we have seen A register and B register. The important register which we need to see is processor status word or program status word. Okay, so this is your next register which we need to see in detail. Okay, now what is the size of your microcontroller? 8-bit microcontroller. So if you take your 8085 microprocessor, the flag register is 8-bit. If you take 8086 microprocessor, the flag register is 16-bit. Why? Because it is a 16-bit microcontroller. Right? Now here 8051 microcontroller is 16-bit. Now we are having 8051 microcontroller is 8-bit, and we are having the flag register size is again 8-bit. Okay, processor status word is also known as flag register, which will indicate the status of the result, current result. Okay, now see, we will see one by one. The rightmost part of your parity flag, the rightmost bit is your parity bit, and we will see what is meant by parity. So parity means it will indicate either even parity or odd parity. Suppose if there are odd number of ones in your result, arithmetic result, and we will set automatically the parity flag will be 1. And if there are even number of ones in the result, the parity flag will be 0. Take an example. There is a operation, arithmetic operation. I am adding 31H and 34H. We will get the result 65H because it is a hexadecimal number. I have represented with the help of the hexadecimal digits. Okay. Now you tell me how many numbers, how many even number of ones or odd number of ones in the result. Now perform the addition operation, you will get the result. Now see, the result consists of even number of ones. So whenever the even number of ones, that means the parity flag is 0. That is even parity, that is 0. Okay. Now we will take another example, that is your 31H and 33H. You will get result 64. Now in that result, how many number of ones? 3 ones. 3 ones means odd. That means odd parity. That means, sorry, actually it is odd parity, a mistake in the PPT. It is parity flag is 1. Okay, that is your parity flag. The next one is a carry flag. I'm sure you already know this carry flag. Whenever there is a carry generated at MSB position, automatically the carry flag will be generated equals to 1. Okay. Now you take one example, 7EH and 01H, and you will get the value 7FH. Okay. Is there any carry generated at the result? No carry. There is no carry generated at the MSB. MSB means the leftmost part of your result, leftmost part. Okay. I will take another example, 99H and 80H, and you will get 19, and with the carry 1. So 99H and 80H. Actually, what is the value I need to get? So you are having carry is equals to 1 at generated at MSB position, right? So this is nothing but your carry flag. The next one is auxiliary carry. What is meant by auxiliary carry? Whenever the carry is generated from lower nibble to higher nibble, then we will use the auxiliary carry is equals to 1. Okay, if you see this example, there is a carry generated from lower nibble to higher nibble, upper nibble. Okay, the lower nibble is first 4 bits of any byte we are calling it as lower nibble, and the next 4 bits we are calling it as upper nibble. Whenever the carry is generated from lower nibble to upper nibble, that is nothing but your auxiliary carry. And whenever a carry is generated at MSB position, that is your normal carry. So this is the difference. Okay. Next flag is overflow flag. The name itself indicates overflow. So whenever there is a result, if the result is overflow, okay, then it automatically overflow flag will be set to 1. And which results when we are doing the signed operations. What in best signed operations? Whenever we are doing the operations on negative numbers, signed numbers are nothing but your negative numbers. Whenever there is a result exceeds the range, then automatically this overflow flag will be set to 1. Okay, that means it indicates there is a overflow in the result, especially during only the signed operations. Remember this point, only signed operations. Now if you understand the overflow flag, what is the result, how it will exceed, we will take one example. So first of all, you need to understand signed numbers and unsigned numbers. You already know what are the unsigned numbers. Unsigned numbers are nothing but simple positive numbers. Okay, what is the minimum value of your positive number? If you take an 8-bit number, the minimum value is 0000, all 8 zeros. What is the maximum value? You will get all ones. That means in hexadecimal we will represent with 00H, and the maximum value is FFH. If you represent the same thing in the decimal number system, that is your 0, and FF is nothing but your 255. Okay, so 0 to 255 means the range is your 256. So this is your unsigned numbers or positive numbers. Whereas signed numbers, what is how to indicate the signed numbers? So if you take any 8-bit number, we will use the MSB bit as signed bit. Okay, to represent a signed number or unsigned number, we will use one bit called your MSB bit in your 1 byte. That is your signed bit. So whenever the signed bit is 0, that is nothing but your positive number, and whenever the signed bit is 1, then is nothing but your negative number. Now tell me what is the minimum value of signed numbers, signed positive numbers? 0 0, right? Because all is nothing but your positive numbers in signed numbers, and the last 0 we cannot able to change because we are representing the positive numbers in the signed numbers. So that is your 7f. So this is a range of your positive numbers in the signed numbers. Whereas how to indicate the negative numbers? In decimal you can able to see there is a 0 and there is a plus 127. That is your range in the positive numbers of your signed numbers. How to indicate the negative numbers? We will put the 1 in the MSB put position. So whenever if you are putting that 1, that is nothing but your signed numbers. This is the representation of the signed numbers. Okay. And what is the maximum value? You tell me. So this is your 80H. Okay, right? So, and this is your FFH. So 80H in decimal number system, we are calling it as -0, and the next FFH we are calling it as -127. Okay, why? Because we are eliminating the last one digit. And if you technically see, the -0 is does not exist. Okay, there is no minus 0, there is only 1 0. There is no positive 0, there is no -0, there is only 1 0, right? So this is the one problem to identify in the signed numbers. Okay, so that's why they have made the two's complement form. Whenever you are representing the signed numbers, okay, we will represent in the two's complement form. Okay, so this is a big concept which I am not going to discuss now. Here is, if you take the range, so 0 to plus 127 and -0 to -127, whenever you are doing the operation on the negative numbers, if the results exceed this range, that is your plus 127 or -127, automatically your overflow flag will be set to 1. Okay, so that is the point to be noted here. Now the next 2 bits are nothing but your register bank select. So you tell me how many banks are there? Bank 0, bank 1, bank 2, and bank 3. By default, what is the bank? Bank 0. By default is the bank, default bank. So whenever if you want to access particular bank, you will use the registers bits RS1 and RS0. Okay, this register bits is also known as register bank select. Whenever if you see, whenever there is a 0 0, that means we are using bank 0. Okay, and whenever we are using 0 1, that is your bank 1, 1 0 bank 2, and 1 1 in bank 3. So whenever if you want to access the particular bank register, you can use these 2 registers, and we can able, I mean, to do these 2 bits in this particular register, and you can able to select. And I'm sure that you know that bank 0 has addresses 00 to 07, bank 1 has 08 to 0F, and bank 2 has 10 to 17, and bank 3 has 18 to 1F. I told you even how to calculate these addresses in the last class. Okay, and if you take any flag register in your 8085 microprocessor, you cannot able to directly change the bits in your flag register in 8085. Whereas in 8086, only 3 flags can be changed. And here also, we can also change flag bits. Okay, so this RS0 and RS1, we can able to change by the programmer. That is, who is a programmer? We and me and you, right? So we can change these bits. Okay, now in order to set or clear, I told you there are some stars in that particular register. What is that star indicates? Bit addressable registers. That means we can access individual bits of that particular register. How to access individual bits of this register? With the help of some instructions. Now take an example here. RS0 and RS1 is 00. I want bank 0. Okay, we will write the instruction clear CLR PSW, that is your processor status mode, bit 4. So RS1 is your bit 4 and RS0 is your bit 3. So whenever if you want to write 00 to select those bank 0, you will use these 2 instructions, clear PSW.4.4 and clear PSW.3. That means bit 3 and bit 4 we are clearing. That means I am selecting the bank 0. Similarly, clear the bit 4 and set the bit 3. That means 0 1. That means I am getting the bank 1. So this is how I am going to select the banks with the help of 2 instructions called set B and clear, which these 2 instructions are only specified for bit addressable instructions. Okay, bit addressables. And the last bit is nothing but your F0. Actually, this F0 is nothing but your user defined flag. That means the programmer can use these bits for any purpose or general purpose. Okay, so that is your flag register. And there is only 1 bit remaining in this one, that is your hyphen. That means it is not used. Okay, So that is your flag register, and this is the entire overview of your flag register. So carry flag, auxiliary carry flag, and this is user defined bit, and there are register bank select, and there is a overflow flag, and there is another hyphen that is not visible, this which cannot able to use your by the programmer, and the last one is your parity flag, and that's I think end of this class. So if you are having any doubts, you can type in the chat box or unmute your mic and you can ask your questions.